Guys, our friends at Waterboy are standing up to dehydration with their scientifically formulated hydration powder designed to level up your athletic and weekend recovery. If you like to drink, Waterboy can help cut your hangovers in half with ingredients designed to help with nausea, anxiety, and even fatigue. There are other hydration packets on the market, but with zero sugar and over 3 times the electrolytes of Liquid IV, dehydration stands no chance. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get 15% off your entire order. Just use the code Chael at waterboy.com. The best part is it also tastes great. After a tough workout, their popular flavors like strawberry lemonade, lemon lime, and blue raspberry are super refreshing. Waterboy is gluten-free, caffeine-free, dairy-free, vegan, and made right here in America. With over 9 times the electrolytes, as a Gatorade, you gotta ditch the sugar and switch to Waterboy. Hundreds of thousands of people already trust Waterboy as their muscle recovery and hangover cure. For a limited time, get an exclusive 15% off discount when you use the code Chael at waterboy.com or just click on the link below. Jake Paul, KSI, Will Fury, what do you guys think? And there's a lot on it. I will tell you, as I watched the matches this weekend, first off, I wasn't in the greatest of spirits by the time the main event came around, right? The co-main event was not in the greatest of spirits after I was watching that. So I was influenced by the announcers. That's true. I've got to disclose that. Grisham, Errol Hawani, Mams, they did a very good job, but they also influenced me and they convinced me that KSI won that fight. What parts I saw of it, it's difficult to know how the judges are scoring it. Like amateur boxing versus professional boxing are very different things. So we took 2 amateurs and we put them in there, but we did it under professional rules. And KSI is so gritty and tough, but he is a street fighter. I mean, he is a brawler. That is a legit tough guy, for sure, who legitimately prepared and showed up with condition and did plenty of sparring because his range is on point, but he's still wild. And those guys are just very hard to deal with. Or at least they're different to deal with. And the first parts of the matches are always the hardest parts of the matches, where you're trying to get used to this. You're taking shots as you're figuring out this goofy guy, and you take another shot, but his power's going down a little bit. And it's just one of these spots. And when you've only got 6 rounds to do it, there's no room for error. So then when Tommy Fury loses a point, it's going to be very hard for Tommy to win that match. When he loses 1 point in a 6-round contest, it's going to be really, really difficult to win the match. And it was the right call by the referee. I felt as though that ref could have been a little bit more involved. And I know he's taken a lot of criticism, but I will at least share for you, within that moment, he did the right thing, and not a lot of people would. When you have a Fury in a boxing match in England, to tell them they did something wrong to the point that you penalize them takes a level of courage. I've got to give it to the referee. Now, there was a lot of holding, and there was a lot of other spots in the match that some of the criticism is coming from. But as we watch it, and as we fast forward to the end, and we get the reveal of the big surprise, the one judge has it a draw, and the other 2 judges have it the same way. So the majority decision goes to Will Fury. And it was a surprise. Jon Fury came out after the fact and said, I would have had no qualms had they given it to KSI. It's a very honest answer. They don't do that a lot in boxing. I wish that they would. I mean, I've always wished that they would. Just be honest about what you felt or what you saw. One of the worst decisions in boxing was Evander Holyfield versus Lennox Lewis. And Lennox Lewis took him apart. He won 10 rounds. He lost 2 rounds. I mean, this was as clear as boxing gets, and they scored it a draw. Evander maintained the belt. They scored it a draw. You just see these really weird things, and then they go to the Evander and they ask him, and he wouldn't say, yeah, that was a surprise, or that was a gift, or I sure am lucky, or that's not the way I thought it was going to go. He starts making excuses. He starts rewriting history, and you always wonder, why does the guy not just answer the question honestly? He can avoid the question, or he can just answer it honestly. And it's not how I had it. It's not what I thought they were going to say, right? It doesn't take away from you to do that. It doesn't hurt the rematches or hurt your stock. It doesn't change what people just saw, but it'll change their respect from getting a sincere answer from you. So I like that Jon said, hey, man, I had no qualms. KSI won the fight. Tyson Fury came out, said, hey, my brother should have done better than that. He's a boxer. This is what we do. Will Fury himself said before the fight, if it's anything but a knockout, I lose. And I take him at his word on that. I also think that KSI should be the one that's viewed as the winner. And you have to understand, what difference does it make? I mean, there isn't sold-out main events on pay-per-view in boxing that go 6 rounds anyway. Like, if we're just being silly and we're just making stuff up, which is what we're doing, I don't take away from Fury. If Fury want to say, no, I won this and they raised my hand, I'm okay with that. What I'm sharing is he's saying no. He said, no, that's not how this works. It's not that they raised my hand because we got these judges to say this. If I don't knock him out, I lose. I'm taking it at his word. I think that's okay. I think that's appropriate under this. Where everything else, we're making up the rules. We can also make up a rule for the conclusion. You then, in case you guys didn't hear about this, the one judge that scored it a draw, turns out that the commission there on hand mistallied that. Turns out he also had Fury. Fury won a unanimous decision. All 3 judges had it the same way. Which does make you think, well, what was the announce team seeing? I went with the announce team. I sided with them. What was Chael saying? But it does matter who won the fight. It really does matter because you have the Jake Paul tie-in. Jake Paul versus KSI is a much bigger fight for what they're trying to do. They expected KSI to win. They wanted KSI to win. They wanted to put Jake and KSI together. But Jake versus Fury, from a competitive standpoint, works to a degree. Jake is a true competitor. He lost the match to Fury. He wants to get that one back. Fury does not want to fight anybody, but he will go out and do a boxing match against guys that aren't boxers. Like, this works for Fury. This is right what Fury does. If he can keep on making a couple $1 million, he couldn't get that doing it against boxers. So everything's right. But I'm asking you guys, which do you want to see? It would seem as though if Jake has an issue with both guys and wants to fight both guys, it would seem as though if you're going to go in order, whoever wins gets the match. It would seem as though you can't have KSI lose and then give him the match. It would seem that way. I get that in the short term. It might feel that way right now. I don't think it'll feel that way in a week or 2 weeks, and definitely won't feel that way by December 15th. I bring up that date because Jake has put out a press release this morning that he'll be fighting again on December 15th. The only question comes down to who. So what do you want to do? Do you think we need to respect the results of the duel? That would seem appropriate. But what are the results of the duel? The onlookers that watched it said KSI won. Fury himself said KSI won. The bigger fight is KSI. But if those are both the likely suspects and you're planning to fight both of them, now you're just arguing about the order. What do you guys want to see? What should be next for Jake? Should it be the rematch with Will Fury? Which, by the way, I mean, you got to understand, if he loses the rematch with Will Fury, does he even do the KSI fight, right? Like, it's a really interesting thing. You lose to a guy one time, but if he ends up doing it twice to you like that, it becomes a little bit more damning. So if you're playing matchmaker and you're trying to get this done, what order are you going to go in? And most specifically, I'll ask you this. On December 15th, Jake Paul's going to box. He hasn't named the opponent yet, but it's down to KSI and Will Fury. Which one do you hope is Jake's opponent?